Good evening, I'm Janet Hall. April 27th, 2011, tornadoes ripped Alabama apart. It broke our hearts, but in the aftermath, we found ourselves connected in ways we've never experienced before. And tonight, the FOX6 family presents this documentary, April's Fury in Alabama, an intimate journal. It's our hope that these very personal insights will make us all stronger as we continue the road to recovery.
Everyone into a bunker, please, immediately. There is a tornado heading this way.
April 27th, 2011, a day forever etched in our memories.
Then all of a sudden, in that direction, a bright light, it lit up, and it started coming this way.
The storm took lives.
I see people dead. It's a lot going on. They're rescuing people. They saved the little boy. It looked bad, terrible. No way in, really, no way out.
Injured hundreds.
She had a very severe head injury, and a lot of people really didn't think she was going to survive.
Sucked homes right off their foundations.
It don't even look like frames. All the frames is gone. The roof is gone. It just don't look like nothing was ever there.
Debris here is probably, I want to say, 3 times more than Katrina, what I've seen so far.
And left many with nothing.
It just bring tears to my eyes. I don't know what to do about it.
This is one of the nastiest probably we've seen in a long time. Currently, we're under a moderate risk for severe weather, and a moderate risk, this was actually issued yesterday for us. That far out is unheard of from the Storm Prediction Center. This is kind of a 1-2 or 1-2-3 punch of severe weather. We're going to have these storms roll in during the overnight, and then our main tornado threat kicks in tomorrow afternoon.
Very seldom do you see all the key ingredients come together, and they come together perfectly. And each and every day, as we got closer to Wednesday, April the 27th, those key ingredients were even more prominent. Some of those indices that we use were off the charts. I had not seen numbers like that ever before. And at first I'm like, this can't be right. It's got to be some kind of bad model data, something like that. But each consecutive model run kept getting worse. So I knew there was some validity to it. And if the science was right, it was going to be a terrible day.
JP knew early on that we were going to be dealing with something unique. And, you know, for any storm, we're going to do pre-planning. We're going to position folks out in the communities to be able to give ground truth to the meteorologist. And what that means is we know that people can look at radar all day, but ultimately they respond to live images or images of damage. And so in that way, we're helping people to make good decisions about taking care of themselves and their families.
Lots of trees down, Warrior Road in the Avenue R area.
Altadena in southern Jefferson going into North Shelby, that area a problem. We also know Highway 280.
Coming in on 280 westbound into the city, just past Cahaba River Road, there were a lot of trees down across the road. Low power lines right at, is it Mountain Brook Community Covenant Church?
Community Church, just past Dolly Ridge.
There it is.
That's 280?
That is 280.
Wow.
You're looking at eastbound there in the eastbound lanes, and then traffic was stopped just east of the church there.
And as the morning went on and we started hearing about damage, and then we started learning that there were tornadoes that had hit St. Clair County and Cahaba Heights. And I remember Rick and I and Mickey, and we all kept saying that morning, we really can't get a scope of how big this is yet, because it was much bigger than anybody had thought, and we hadn't even gotten to the afternoon yet. And that was really the scary part.
This almost felt like the town crier running around the newsroom saying, all right guys, it was bad this morning, but believe me, it's going to get a lot worse. And I was fearing that people in the community would think, hey, we got the forecast wrong, and it came in early, and all the sunshine is going to stick around. It's going to be pretty for the rest of your Wednesday. And that wasn't what was going to happen.
You can see the rotational velocity there. That's close to 100 mile per hour rotational velocity. So make sure you are taking your tornado precautions. If you live around Smith Lake, this storm is moving towards you. The tornado warning now for Cullman County, and serious tornado situation there in Marion County. We do have what appears to be a funnel. You might want to go ahead and just share that with the National Weather Service that our camera is picking up a funnel, definitely a wall cloud there. There you go. If we just hold it right there. 3 minutes downtown Cullman. Make sure you are in your safe place.
JP keeps saying, if you're in downtown Cullman, you need to go to your safe place. Well, I'm in downtown Cullman and I'm in my safe place, and all of a sudden, gosh, about 5 minutes later, I heard a lady screaming upstairs. I run up the stairs and she said, there it is. And it was right there. So I, as a journalist and as a reporter, I take my cell phone out and shoot video on my iPhone. And the whole time my hands are just shaking, and I'm just, you know, it's one of those things where you can't prepare yourself. And then as it gets closer, it's coming this way. And as it gets closer, you just see the debris and you realize that homes are being destroyed, buildings are being destroyed.
Ashley, tell us exactly where you are. Are you still at the EMS?
Dana, I am in downtown Cullman, actually on 1st Street, a couple of streets off of where the courthouse is. Extensive damage here in downtown, structural damage to the courthouse, structural damage to homes. Just talked to a gentleman who was on Highway 278. He says there are people in the street doing CPR. Unconfirmed reports of some injuries out on Highway 278, which is where we are about to head right now. I can tell you it's a chaotic situation in downtown, traffic at a standstill.
It was scary. It was really scary. I mean, like I said, I was scared beforehand. And then, you know, that first warning, Cullman County, tornado on the ground, and here I am right in the middle of it.
You know, they wanted us to seek shelter at the EMA, but I got bored. Me and somebody else that was with us, you know, we got bored sitting at the EMA. We heard about it, so we was like, you know, I wonder if we can see it. If we can see it coming to Cullman. So we hopped in the car. Next thing I know, there it is. Hopped out, started filming. And, you know, you can see the debris flying around in the air. You know, that's when your adrenaline is really rushing, when you're actually seeing it. But your mind is not thinking, you know, this debris could land, this debris could be thrown toward me. So, you know, it was fun, but stupid. I mean, you see it on TV, but to actually see it in person with your own eyes, TV doesn't give it justice. To see that power. And next thing we know, we heard was Cullman Courthouse was directly hit. The roof was blown off. There was a neighborhood behind the courthouse. That neighborhood was hit. Now you can hear the ambulances, the fire trucks, the police cars.
And it was so chaotic. People were just walking around and just with this look on their face. Just, they don't know what to do. No one knows what to do in that instant. And you're trying to figure out where to go and what to do and how to help and if someone needs your help, but you just don't know what to do. It's sort of like everyone's a zombie.
Massive tornado now crossing the toll road, the toll bridge between the interstate and Highway 11 right now. Just saw it as we passed. I saw a lot of debris spinning up with the storm right now, and just making its way into the Tuscaloosa area.
When I saw the Tuscaloosa tornado, that live feed from our Tuscaloosa camera and how big that was and moving through that area, first thing that hit me is, this is killing people. There are people in the path of this, and there's not a thing they can do about it.
Tornado right now looks to be right over, you know where Union Furniture Company is, right there on Greensboro Avenue by the train station. It's right over that area. It's going to be crossing behind or near Central High School and crossing the Hargrove Road.
When I saw the tornado and it was approaching 15th Street, I was thinking about friends, thinking about family, and really thinking about, wow, all these areas in front of this tornado. DCH Hospital, we were calling out Alberta City. We were saying 15th Street, and all these places where I've eaten are no longer there. All these places I've seen every day for the past 10, 20 years. I mean, it was just incredible just seeing that on camera.
It's turning into a monster storm. That's turning, I mean, you can see this starting to get a comma shape to it on the end of it.
I saw on the radar in the truck that we had another possible tornado, looked like a tornado coming out of Mississippi. So I told Anthony, our chief photographer, I said, he's the one that always drives for me when we're chasing. I said, let's go try to catch that one before it gets to Tuscaloosa. So we did. So it was raining, there was hail. We were on the wrong side of the storm. We were on the northern side. We need to get on the southern side to get a better view of it. So we're out ahead of it, but as we're turning, I can look on the map, and I told Anthony when we were coming, I said, we're barely going to get in front of this thing. We're only going to have a few minutes to spare at most to get in front of it and get past it. So we're driving in the heavy rain as fast as we could drive, and we get a clearing. And I look to my right, off to the west, and there it was.
Let's go! Let's go!
This thing was following us. I mean, I was trying to get away, and I was going, you know, pretty fast trying to get away. We see it go across, and then as soon as it gets to a distance, we start driving to where, you know, just driving in to see what was going on. Pull up, it looked like a bomb had just gone off in this area. I see power lines all over the place. You had cars thrown inside, up to houses. You had alarms going off on cars. I saw this young man coming down. He had blood all over his shirt. You okay, sir? Then I start seeing emergency vehicles, ambulances and police cars flying by.
The tornado that was on the ground was heading towards downtown Tuscaloosa. So I positioned myself on the bridge coming out of Northport, going into downtown Tuscaloosa. I sat there waiting. I saw a cloud. That might be the tornado. Then all of a sudden, I see this tornado spinning. It came from around the bushes, trees there. It was just spinning, spinning, spinning. And I'm thinking, that can't be it, but that was it. I didn't really know what I was looking at because I'd never seen a tornado before. And it seemed to be spinning so fast, faster than I thought they would. And I was on 359. I saw a UPS truck completely flipped over. Folks bloodied, laid out in the middle of the interstate. There's all kind of large debris. And I remember the smell. The wind was blowing. There was smell of gas, oil. First thing that went to my mind when I pulled up to that scene on 359 was they never saw it coming. So after I shot that scene, I walked to what was the Roselle Courts neighborhood. People were digging, looking for people. If they hear a noise, they'll go to that pile, they'll dig. And I was shooting one pile, and then I heard to my left, people started clapping, cheering. So I immediately went to that pile. And as I got there, they pull a man out, but they continued digging. But the man, he came out, and as soon as he got to the bottom of the pile, he just broke down, started crying. And that hit me so hard because it was as if this father, you could tell that he wanted to protect his son so bad that was beneath him. And he was still trapped in the rubble. But later they did pull out his son on a door.
I was actually in the Emergency Operations Center, ran back inside to take shelter from the storm, and when we came out, Tuscaloosa had changed, I think, forever. The noise is absolutely unbelievable. You hear so much about the freight train effect or the sound, but that's the thing that not only was what you heard, but what you felt. It was a physical feeling, even being inside the building and underneath the stairwell where we were. It was a pounding as if you were being hit with an air cannon.
This is where it was. These bricks have been moved, these concrete blocks. They were blocking the way here and they've pushed them aside, but they basically just kind of, Tuscaloosa firefighters using as one of those big levers like they use to get people out of burning buildings, and he's pulling enough concrete down for us to crawl over and to get out.
I mean, you can see how the lightning is picking up. We are looking at a monster wedge tornado on the ground.
Moving right now around Inslee, getting ready to cross I-65 as we speak. We're taking a look right now. That's a north view looking at downtown Birmingham. We're going to see this thing skirt just to the north, very close to downtown Birmingham. Wes
heads up there on 75 north to Pinson. This thing is going to cross right there, and you can see the power, the transformers flickering. This tornado has a history of doing. We saw the damage in Tuscaloosa.
You know what, Wes? This tornado is bigger here than it was in Tuscaloosa County.
You just knew that despite all the warnings, people were getting hurt. At that moment, there wasn't much you could do. You knew lives were being changed, and some lives were probably going to be lost.
I remember getting a lump in my throat thinking, there are people getting killed right now, and we're watching it live on TV, and there was nothing you could do.
We've been up here during severe thunderstorms, during tornado warnings for 30 years, and we have never been evacuated from the studio until that day.
And it was a very strange feeling walking out of here and leaving JP and Wes behind, thinking, okay guys, you know, we'll be back.
Take this thing seriously. We've cleared out the studio. It's me and Wes basically in here and a few other folks.
Yeah,
debris is flying all around. This is a live video coming from Red Mountain here. We got stuff flying around in the sky in downtown Birmingham.
And you walk out this back door, briefly, I snuck out the back just to see it. And I knew it was a safe distance. But I look up and there's boards and everything flying around downtown Birmingham, landing here at the TV station. It's crazy. It was like a scene from a movie.
One of our guys just picked up this board. Can you take a look at that? That is a nail. This was what was flying around in the air. We got debris.
Incredible.
This is falling out of the sky right now.
I still look at some of those pictures in the video and it looks like somebody has concocted something with Photoshop or some kind of computer enhancement, that it's not real, but it was real. It was a swarm of tornadoes. So you got all of these tornadoes, you've got all of these radar signatures, and you know every single one of them is producing a tornado. There is actually something on the ground doing damage. Then it becomes almost like a triage. It's like working in an ER and you've got all these patients. Well, who do I concentrate on first?
Unbelievable devastation. People out there today trying to make sense of what happened. The top half of the county courthouse here on the far side, that roof is completely gone. Hopefully nobody was in the upper floors there. This is where you begin to see the devastation here in Tuscaloosa. Imagine being in there yesterday, being told to hunker down. If you're on one of the upper floors, what could you do? If you hunker down on the second floor there is no second floor. As a tornado continued to move through Jefferson County past Pleasant Grove and headed to the Pratt City area, Cherry Avenue and Highway 78, that intersection beginning to move up to the north. Just incredible devastation there. An apartment complex hit, lots of homes hit. We were there last night on the ground. There was a gas leak and hundreds of people moving out of there.
We saw that image live on our screen coming across, but you don't have a sense of what it's doing on the ground when it's churning like that.
It's unbelievably extensive. We are seeing people walk by like this gentleman who has blood on them. Paramedics are completely overwhelmed. Firefighters are doing the very best they can. Let me explain the scene for you. Behind this fire truck are several homes. Most of them have their roofs that were taken off. As you can see, we're pretty busy with cars trying to come through. We were told that there is a gas leak down there and that people were told to get out, but yet we can see there are still people in.
There were people that were coming out
that were bandaged, that were bloodied, that were bringing their dogs out and carrying older people, and some were crying and some were whimpering and some had broken bones. And you just kind of feel helpless because you're supposed to talk about what you're seeing, but you kind of want to put your arm around them. People were very stoic. They were very stoic to come out and hold each other, and people that didn't always know each other were helping, especially the elderly or people who were infirm or had some kind of disability. And that, for the most part, people were calm. There was some wailing going on, of course, but generally they were very calm and followed what the police and the first responders told them to do.
When you stand on the front porch of a house, you're not supposed to be able to look down into it. This is what used to be the front door of the Youngblood Waters family home. Now they're spending the day trying to salvage what they can.
We're just trying to see what we can just get what's left.
On Cherry Avenue, a sea of people walking towards what looks like a war zone. A few items in a trash can and a bag is all the material things many have left in the world. But no one is sad, just grateful to be alive.
It was awful, but to God be the glory. God is good.
The image that sticks in my mind all this time is looking over a ridge and just for as far as you can see, just destruction.
Sound like a roaring train.
It's just a whole bunch of booming and shaking and trees flying.
Oh, I can't explain, but I do know God is good.
After a massive tornado tore through their neighborhood, folks living off Cherry Avenue are in shock. The area is basically flattened.
It looks like cardboard paper just mashed in. Just everything mashed in, the cars, the houses. It don't even look like frames. All the frames is gone, the roof is gone. It just don't look like nothing was ever there.
Just a blank feeling, disbelief, can't believe it.
Maurice Mabry grew up on this street. We watched as he rushed from door to door.
And I lived here, I was born and raised here all my life, and I didn't even know what my home was. It took me time to recognize where it was.
Another constant today, the roar of heavy equipment. Trying to clear out the debris simply so that the search crews can continue to look for any of the people missing.
I remember walking up with the police officer and the firefighters at first light that Thursday morning on the 28th, and knowing that there was damage, but when light came up, kind of topping the hill, I looked up and I saw the wreckage, and the first thing out of my mouth was, wow, look at this. And then I thought it still was kind of concentrated in one block or one street. And then you get on top of that hill and you look out across and you see street after street after street, just a path of destruction and trees and houses just mown down and gone. And that's when I realized nothing's going to ever be the same here.
A gentleman walks up with a young boy, probably a teenager, and he walks up to the group and he says, "We can't find our baby." And we're kind of like, what? And he holds up a picture and he says, we can't find our baby. It's missing. Someone has him. I said, okay, can I use the card? We can show his picture. And we just went on the air.
Somehow the baby got disconnected from his father.
But maybe like a minute or two later, the station calls and they say, someone just called and said they had the baby. And so I'm like, what? And they gave me the number. And so I called the lady whose number I had, put her on speakerphone so that the uncle could hear me talking to her. And she said, my name is Monica Finley. I have the baby.
We heard a baby crying, and that's when we ran over here.
She immediately saw a man bloodied, crying, begging for help. His wife and 7-week-old son, William Tucker, were buried. As crews worked to free the baby, Monica was standing nearby.
And he had the rocks all in his face. It was in his face, his eyes, and some in his nose, because we had to clean his nose out. He had it in his mouth, and he didn't like me cleaning that out, and it was in his ears. And he was covered in grit. And that big slab, which is right here on the side, was on top of his car seat, and it was a lady's head in his lap. and the slab was on the back of her head.
As William was finally pulled free, he was passed from person to person until he finally landed in Monica's arms. She and another lady ran to find help, while back at the home, the mother William Tucker had known for only 7 weeks was slowly slipping away, right in front of his father's eyes.
And the man ran up to me. He said, whoever you are, just take the baby and take care of it like it's your own, because that's all he's got left.
Monica ran to her mother's house where she cleaned and fed the baby and called 911 to let them know where he was. Little did she know the family was frantically searching for him. Sunday, Monica went back to the scene where she first met Tucker, where she met some of his family and even brought a gift of love for them.
This is what he was wearing the last time that he was with his mom and the day that I found him. I just let the family know that I'm glad you all are reunited, and we pray for you all every day for your loss.
For me, just looking back on it, I just praise God. I said, because if I've never helped anyone before, if I never do again, I feel like God used me at that time to help just one person. And you say that, you're like, if I can just help one person, and but really when you say that, when I say that, I really mean that. And it's like God used me, and that's awesome for me. It's very humbling. We were dispatched to Pleasant Grove. The police officers had shut down a lot of the streets in the area because there were a lot of trees down, a lot of power lines down on the ground. So we walked about a mile or so to get into the neighborhood to show the damage. It was getting dark, it was raining, and we were like, we got to get back to the vehicle because we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to see our way out of the neighborhood. So on our way back, we passed a rescue team, a man and a woman, and they said, hey, we need you, FOX6, we need you.
They informed us that there was a 100-year-old gentleman down there on the side of the road who needed some assistance, and they were having a tough time getting to him. One of the medics asked, hey, would you mind using your camera light to help us see where we're going? And of course, we decided to do that. And we got down to the gentleman. He was sitting there on the side of the road. I mean, he had some head injuries, some injuries to his shoulder, I believe, and it got to the point where the medics asked, hey, we're going to need some help carrying this guy. Can you guys stick around and help us carry him out?
Brandon and I took turns guiding them with our camera light and carrying the stretcher and helping this elderly man get to the ambulance.
We navigated through the trees, the power lines, the ditches, the mud. I mean, at one point we were about ankle deep in mud and trying to keep him level. I mean, to this day, there were times where we had to tilt the structure that he was on to kind of get around things, and to this day I can feel him tapping me on my side, because at certain times when you would tilt the board, he would slide towards me off the board, and I was banging up against his shoulder, and he kept tapping me and kind of letting me know, hey, you're hurting me. And I apologized to him over and over again. I'm sorry. I know you're in pain. We are trying to help you. I'm trying to help you.
And my heart just went out to the family. I'm thankful that the gentleman made it to the ambulance safely. He was okay.
I was in Pleasant Grove and did a story on a teenage girl and her mother who were in their basement as it was being blown away in Pleasant Grove, and they described how they held on to each other, and they acted it out for me, how they held on to each other.
She said, I got you, Mama, and I had her right away. So I said, Victoria, I said, if it takes us, we're going out together. I said, if they find us, they're going to find us like this.
And it was just an amazing moment to see how they got each other through that storm. And this same teenage girl wrote a song about it. And part of the story we did with her is her sitting in the middle of the rubble of her home and playing guitar and singing this song. And all around her, all you could see was destruction.
It was a day to remember, a day of tragedy.
It was an image I won't forget.
I think the moment that it became real for me, I was in Pleasant Grove.
We first met 90-year-old Clarence South just 2 days after the storm ripped through Pleasant Grove. He, his son, and his grandson were trying to salvage anything they could from his home, or what was left of it.
Seems like a dream. If chill bumps all over you, that's scary.
Now, 13 days later, bulldozers are taking down what's left of his home. South is trying to stop the tears.
Well, I'm not as emotional over it as I was, but I get to it a little bit. You know, come up here and see, I've lived here 50 years, and it's just heartbreaking.
I realized that this man had just lost his wife a year earlier. Now he doesn't have a home. He doesn't know what to do. And I think at that moment it became real for me.
I talked to a woman who is now 24, who went through the tornado in 1998 in McDonald Chapel. She was in the church that was hit so hard. She and about 70 other kids and adults were in that church that evening when that storm came through. She was in there with her mother, and they survived. You remember, everybody survived that storm amazingly. But this time her mother didn't survive.
I was screaming for her, and we thought we heard her, but we didn't hear her because she kept telling him to lift so the thing's off.
Jana Presley went looking for her mother, Denise, in their house in McDonald Chapel.
And then they saw her, and they took me away and told me that she was gone.
Jana lives with the physical scars to this day and the memories from April 8th, now the memories from April 27th. But one thing she's sure of, her mom wants her to keep moving forward.
I feel, you know, her arms behind me, like pushing me, like, go. It's your turn, go, because she's gone.
This was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house in Concord Wednesday morning. Michael Dunn and his family picked through what's left. Still stunned they survived. 8 people crowded into this small utility room when the tornado roared through.
It just felt like somebody had vice grips on your head, just squeezing as hard as they could, and you just couldn't even see. There was so much debris flying around, even in that little room. It was horrible. Had kids screaming, wife screaming, next door neighbor's wife screaming, baby screaming. It was something I don't want nobody to ever live through again.
Tears when these two friends look at one of their favorite spots in Concord, Steve's Grocery, ripped apart, a place they say they can always rely on to get the necessities. But now the store is closed and its workers mourning. The owner of this local hotspot, Ernest Mundy, affectionately known as Ernie, killed in this week's tornado.
He always had a kind word for everybody. He meant well. He left his employees and told one of the ladies, he said, "I trust you with my life." And that's the last thing he said. And she's having a hard time coping with it.
The twister cut a path across Fultondale, smashing homes, leaving major damage to the Fultondale First Baptist Church. And at the fire department, it blew off the roof.
People that have lost things have given what they have to help other people. And like I say, the response, we haven't had to ask for one meal.
Cars were flipped upside down. Houses and restaurants were flattened. This is an area that's very close to the center of the city. Residents say there's a lot of work to be done, and this is an event that changed the city forever.
The long-track tornado that hit Tuscaloosa and West Jefferson County also left St. Clair, Calhoun, and parts of Etowah counties in pieces. Flying just a few more miles, we found extensive damage on the St. Clair and Calhoun County border. We decided to land in Ohatchee and take a look from the ground. The people who live and work at this horse farm lost everything but their lives. Sheena Fletcher is a survivor.
We looked out the window and saw it coming, so we all took cover, and it was over in 5 seconds. And we came out and everything was gone. So we're just praying to God that everybody was safe.
Everyone was not safe. 7 houses on our street were gone and 2 neighbors died.
It was as strong as anything I'd ever seen.
Across the road along Neely Henry Lake, this entire neighborhood was wiped out. It was neighbor helping neighbor pick up the pieces today. You've got some houses that are leveled to the foundation here in Ohatchee. Words cannot describe the amount of destruction here. This house is one of the homes that's actually in better shape. The man who lives here, and we always talk about get into that interior room if you do not have a basement or a storm shelter. Well, what he did, he hunkered down in this room beneath his stairway, and this is where he rode out that storm and basically rode it out without getting a scratch.
Seemed like it lasted several minutes, but other times I believe it was just seconds, you know, maybe 30, 40 seconds, and it was come and gone. And then I went out and went to checking for my neighbors.
You could see the grief that Kevin was carrying. It's just such a heavy burden for one person to carry.
I am devastated. Everything anybody could imagine right now as far as emotion, mind. But I get a little peace of mind knowing that that's what I said. You know, I love you and I'll see you when I get home.
Those were the last words Kevin Isbell said to his wife Tammy, his 7-year-old daughter Leah, and his dad Ronnie. All three died when an EF4 tornado tore through the Shoal Creek Valley. Kevin was working at the Honda plant in Lincoln that afternoon. When he couldn't reach his family, he drove home, but was stopped by police blocking Shoal Creek Road. Desperate, Kevin drove around to the other side of the valley, parked, and walked 4 miles.
Leah, Tammy, and my dad were laying within 40 feet of one another. I don't have words to explain. I miss them. God don't make mistakes.
It was a reminder to me that that's really what this storm did, is it robbed people of their loved ones, and their lives will never be the same, and they have a very heavy burden of grief to carry.
They had asked us all in sports to start doing some news reports to help, because the station was basically going around the clock, and they asked me to go do a story over in the St. Clair County area in Asheville on a father of 13.
This was the home of the Lee family, a 3-story house where a mother, father, and their 13 children lived. At the time of the tornado, the Lee family was in the bottom floor. Tom was bracing himself against the door, trying to keep the debris out. He was overcome and lost his life. But in his death, he saved what mattered most to him, his wife and children.
Loved his family. He loved his Savior and Lord Jesus, and that basically guided everything that Tom said and did.
Tom Lee enjoyed working with his hands, fishing and golfing, but more dear to his heart was being a dad to his 13 children, ranging in ages 3 to 27 years old. Tom Lee was such a loved man, friends like Tom Keene, Mark Tavers, and Jim Ballou are helping the family through their nightmare.
The loss is really enormous. I mean, this just speaks to the impact that Tom had on the people who knew them.
Never seen anything like it before in my life. You know, usually the worst thing that I have to talk about are wins and losses, not lives.
Here at this residence, just a few feet from what used to be a house, they've got a tent set up, they've got a fire pit to maybe build a fire, and then over here just the bare necessities, some water, a few food items like some oatmeal pies, and then to clean up, some baby wipes.
Yeah, we still cutting out.
A little farther down, the Glass family survived, but their home was destroyed except for a shed. Whatever is left, they don't want to leave it.
This is my home. I mean, can't leave it.
So they build a fire and pass the time, talking and laughing together.
Make it fun. Make the best out of a bad situation.
Okay, where were the dogs found?
Darlene Harrison and her husband David flew into Tuscaloosa from Dallas, Texas to search for their missing daughter. 22-year-old Ashley Harrison, a University of Alabama student, had turned up missing after Wednesday's storms. Thursday morning, Mrs. Harrison asked for any help she could get.
They cannot find Ashley. She's 5 feet 5 inches tall. She's 120 pounds. A beautiful girl. Long, brown, dark hair. Beautiful. Anybody, please keep her in your prayers.
Unfortunately, a short time later, those prayers were not answered. It was confirmed that Ashley was killed in the severe weather. Meanwhile, people in the Rosedale community continued to work to put their houses back together if they could.
And when we came back, we seen they snatched the roof off the house, stuff all messed up. Pretty much lost everything.
Many folks died here in Tuscaloosa. The damage, as you can see, extensive. And it's going to take a long time to clean up this mess. But for the folks who survived and are alive today, they'll tell you they're feeling lucky and they believe they learned a valuable lesson.
I know from now on, when they say tornado warning, go find me somewhere to hide.
Kayla Hoffman is sensational. She's the top gymnast in the nation. She's won the Honda Award as the top collegiate gymnast in America. 11 days prior to the tornado hitting, she had won the national championship with Alabama. All of a sudden, she finds herself in the midst of this tornado right off 15th Street.
When I got to this corner, that's when I actually saw the tornado. I saw the debris flying over that side of the apartment, and I could see this side of the whole funnel hitting the street.
You get out to here. Tornadoes up here. You wanted to go to that apartment complex. You had a decision to make pretty quickly right there.
Yes. I kind of just, posted up in here as close as I could to the door and turned my head this way as stuff was flying at me. But that still wasn't really doing the trick, so I just kind of got up here in a ball and just, got as small as I could, and I waited, just kind of waited to see what was going to happen. I honestly do not have any idea, if I was hurt. I remember stuff hitting me. I don't, I was so covered in mud, you couldn't see any of the cut.
And we just started booking it. My roommate's a cross-country runner, and I'm a runner, and so we just took off. I went to Kayla's apartment, and there was just debris everywhere. I just grabbed her and just gave her a big old hug.
I mean, it was really hard to go through that without him there, and we're just so excited to see each other.
Cried so much till you just can't cry no more. I mean, it's awful.
For Mandy and Robert Johnson and their 10-year-old son, an RV is where they live for now. Their double-wide trailer was shredded to pieces during Wednesday's tornado. It's the same thing for just about everyone on Camp Cherry Austin Road in Brookwood.
It's ugly right now, but we're going to have to start over and make it better.
Mrs. Johnson talks about the hardest part about all of this.
My 10-year-old son, he's just, he knows what's going on and just losing his stuff, and it's not having our home.
Though it's very hard, the Johnsons are looking at the bright side of things, which is they survived a very violent tornado. Mr. Johnson was keeping an eye on the weather, and when he realized it was coming straight for Brookwood, he and his family took shelter here in this storm pit with 12 others.
I find myself walking around in circles, confused, don't know where to start, don't know what to do. I'd rather see a house fire than have to go back and pick up your pieces and struggle through this mess here.
Hi. Hey, sweet girl. Look at the sweet smile on 2-year-old Trinity, and then listen to her family's remarkable story of miraculous recovery here inside Children's Hospital.
I can talk about it now because she's doing fine, and I give God all the glory.
It began in the town of Holt in Tuscaloosa County. That terrible moment most of us saw on television, they saw up close. As they all got into a bathtub in their mobile home, Father Reginald put a mattress over his wife and kids and climbed on top to try to shield them from what was coming.
It was a deep growling noise. Felt like something picked us up and just kind of threw us, and we were just kind of airborne, being tossed inside the trailer. I wasn't accepting what really had happened. I just kept looking up at the sky saying, God, this is not happening. My baby is okay.
Their baby, J-Tex, was okay. 6-year-old Jalen had a broken foot, but Trinity was in bad shape. Reginald found her with a gaping head wound. She's undergone 2 more brain surgeries at Children's Hospital.
Right there.
Right there. And lost mobility on her left side. Doctors say it will come back gradually through rehab.
I noticed while I was talking to them that they were all touching each other. Mom was holding the baby, Dad was touching Mom, Big Brother was kind of playing with Trinity and touching her. So I think it really brought them together, and they recognized what's most important in life, and it certainly isn't material things, it's life. And they were all alive, and that was the most important thing to them.
99 going on 50. She was spry and sprite and funny.
So what do you think of making it to 100? You survived this. Making it to 100 is easy.
I'm thinking of making it to 100. What do you know?
She is a very, very spunky woman.
So this massive tornado is coming directly over this apartment complex. What's Miss Nixon doing? Lying on her couch, reading the paper. Glass flies everywhere. She says, I thought I'd ride it out. That's one tough lady.
I was on the sofa looking up at the window, and the window flags hit, the whole pane came and hit me straight in the face.
Wow. So
and that's exactly the way it happened.
When everything was over and we came out, we looked up, and Miss Nixon, is looking out of her door and said, well, what happened? I don't know what's going on. And so my boyfriend went upstairs and got her and brought her down here and got her on a four-wheeler and took her with us.
How's she feeling?
The only injury I got is a small one on my leg.
Oh, and the most important part of this story, the big question. What's your favorite college football team?
Well, you know who? It starts with the big A. Alabama.
That was kind of an inspirational story for me, because you think that, you know, and all the devastation and the tragedy, you know, we saw a little bit of humor or enlightenment, and in her, I thought it was a lot of fun to do.
It's really difficult to comprehend the enormity of what's happened unless you're standing in a place that's just devastated. I was in downtown Cullman. When you think about the cafe that's gone, the barbershop that's gone, the florist that's gone, the church that's gone, and it's one thing to see those buildings, but it's another thing to think about how the place that I go to get my coffee, the place where I go to see my friends at the barbershop, the place where I go to pick up flowers when my wife is mad at me, the place where I go to pray on Sunday, all of that is taken away, and I don't have that at my disposal anymore. That's just, it's incredible to wrap your brain around.
So much work being done today here in Hackleburg, but there's so much to do. Just take a look. Everywhere you look here, there's destruction. People working over there. These were houses. That is the school, or what's left of it. Those students now going to two of the local churches to attend classes. This is a neighborhood, or it was a neighborhood. Many of the people who lived here, the only way they survived is because they were underground in a shelter. And Casey Hallmark is one of those, and we met her just a few moments ago. She rode out the storm in this shelter here. Hey Casey, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
So this is where you stayed during the storm. You and how many people?
About 12 others.
So 12 other people in this neighborhood gathered here just a couple of minutes before the storm hit.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when it came through?
It was just an experience you could never imagine. It was like, we got in here about 5 minutes before the storm hit. We shut the door, and no later did we shut that door, the storm hit. And it was like, not a freight train. It was glass just pounding on you, dirt flying in on you. People
So you were down in this right here, about 15 other people, you said?
12.
12 other people?
Yes, ma'am.
And as someone was holding on to this door handle?
Yes, ma'am, my cousin's father. And my brother was holding his feet, and you could just feel him going up and down with the door.
So the door was basically going to come off?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you thinking? What was going to happen if that door came off?
I was thinking, Lord, just don't let me go this way. It's not the way to go. Just keep me one more day.
So, but everybody made it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when you came out, this is what you saw, right?
Yes, ma'am. It was bricks everywhere, no houses, just nothing.
Hackleburg High School remains in ruins after April 27th. Students had to go to nearby churches just to finish up their classwork. Many seniors say they will never forget that fateful day.
I was lost. I didn't know where anything was. I was trying to find my friends. My friend Justin and I walked to another one of our friends' house, and I couldn't even find it.
No student, though, died on that day. Tornado safety will certainly be a key in the rebuilding process. This is the hallway where the safe area of the high school was supposed to be.
That's the first thing they'll put in. We will have a storm shelter. That was priority number one in our school before anything else.
We were down at the Boutwell Auditorium, and I was down there. The Red Cross had a bunch of supplies in there, and this family came in just distraught. And I just happened to ask them what's wrong, and she said, we can't find, they listed a bunch of family members.
My god sister, godmother, niece and nephew, and best friend.
They're still missing and you can't find them?
I can't find them.
So she gave her phone number on air while we're on our live shot. And all of a sudden we heard this big commotion, everybody going, oh, I can't believe it, it's wonderful.
We found them. Thank you, Jesus. We found them.
Oh, they're fine.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, FOX6. We got second billing on that one. But that was just wonderful. I mean, it was just a chill bump, wonderful moment in the midst of it all.
Now that the more than 100-year-old Bethel Missionary Baptist Church is a pile of bricks and broken glass, church members can only stare in disbelief. Pastor Tommy Lewis is still focusing on the future. From his makeshift office at the nearby Scott School building, he says he has encouraged church members to reach out to their neighbors.
What's more important is this community. We will build the church house, but we must take care of these people. We must make very sure that though they are homeless, that they don't become hopeless.
The congregation has responded by organizing the relief center at the Scott School building and filling the rooms with donations of water and clothes to help people put their lives back together. Church members say the decision to help was easy because by spreading a message of faith, they can be an example of hope for this community.
I'm just hoping that we receive a message of hope and the people of Bethel understand that our church is not gone, the building is just gone, and it doesn't really matter where we worship.
These students have a free pass home. Classes canceled, and yet they stay in Tuscaloosa, all volunteering their care and some elbow grease. Members of the Calvary Baptist Church in Tuscaloosa knew they had to do something, anything, even though they don't all have a place to stay while the church feeds them.
So they're here, they're ready to serve, they're ready to do whatever our people want in the church. I think everybody wants to do something. We're just trying to funnel those in a strategic, long-term, sustainable effort.
We were going to be here for another week. We're not going to inconvenience ourselves when there's people who got put out of homes. We're going to stay until we run out of people to feed or run out of food.
We're just blessed that we were in the path of the tornado and we were not injured, and so I just see all these people just with their homes ruined, and we're here to serve them and help them in any way we can. Just let the love of Christ control us and serve these people, because I know they're devastated right now.
We had 20 minutes to load this bus. We got 7 minutes to go.
Principal Van Phillips was in his element, keeping his Irwin students on time, loading up supplies stored at a local church. One school bus was already full, another bus to go.
Today we have a drive for supplies because Hackleburg lost their entire school with all the books, materials, and everything. So we have about 150 sets of 150 sets of school supplies, notebook, pen, pencils, paper, everything. We have new clothing to take up to Hackleburg. We have new bedding. When they were coming up Highway 43, when they started seeing the devastation, the bus went totally silent.
Hey guys and girls, I'm Johnny Harden here. I'm the principal, and this is awfully nice of y'all.
I don't know. It's just overwhelming. It's things like this that makes you open your eyes to a lot of things.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all.
It feels good to help. I mean, you can't. People, they wish they can do this, and some people can't.
What a picture this is. One community rallying to help another, replacing sadness with laughter and smiles.
Thank you so much.
There you go.
Thank you.
With her younger brother by her side, 9-year-old Katie Bulk is on a mission.
There's some people. Can you glass those? Come on.
While most kids her age are playing and enjoying a beautiful weekend, Katie is working, stopping by homes, cars, even the local fire department.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. You're doing a good job.
All of this to help those in need.
When I got back, I told my mama that I wanted to start something to start helping the people. I think that that's going to help a lot of people, and I'm going to be real happy.
You see bravery, you see compassion, you see love. And the thing about television is you can write about that stuff, but when you're able to see people act that out, that's why we do this every day.
You know, as a journalist, you try to tell the stories of people, but if things like this don't affect you, there's something wrong.
Driving by exit after exit of tornado damage, and all the communities weighing on me, but perhaps my childhood home weighing on me in a special way. And just out of nowhere, without any sign whatsoever, tears just start rolling down my eyes.
Till you go out there and see it with your own eyes, it's unbelievable, man. And it's sad, you know, to see people walking away with the only thing they got is in a plastic bag. And, you know, you can see the tears. You know, these people hurt.
You know, you're interviewing people and they're just sitting in rubble. And it's where they used to live, and they've got absolutely nothing.
It really brought me back in touch with why I chose to do what I'm doing. I mean, you want to provide people with information, you want to do it in the best way possible, and we were able to do that because at that particular time, that's when people needed us the most.
It does make you realize that what we do on TV and tracking those storms, that really impacts people. And when you go out in the community and you hear people say, hey, I was watching you on TV and you said to take cover, and 10 minutes later I lost my house. That's a big deal.
And I hugged a lot of people, and I just wanted to fix it for them, and I couldn't fix it. And people would be going through their belongings and just looking for something, and all they wanted was to find something to remind them of what, you know, their life was. And I think that was the hardest part.
So many people, not just here, but, you know, all over the country want to help. And so they come up to us and they want to know, what do we do? We're ready to give. We're ready to do something. What can we do? And we were just overwhelmed. You know, we told them to contact different locations or call different numbers. And that's just been really neat to see how Alabama's come together.
The spirit of the people in the communities that have been hit, the spirit of the people in the communities that were not hit, but who are now helping, and frankly, the spirit of our staff, from management, from all the way from the top down, people came together and worked hard, worked cooperatively, worked with the right spirit to tell the story, to get the facts out, and to help people recover as best they can. I'm proud of that.
People helping people they don't know. This is crossing all kind of race lines, socioeconomic lines. You know, it's not a rich thing, it's not a poor thing. This is a people thing.
I've covered natural disasters in other places, but I've just never seen an outpouring like we saw here. And that's been kind of like the takeaway for me is, wow, what a nice place to live. You know, that you can count on your neighbors and your church and your friends and family to really not just bring a meal, but like help you for months and months.
I'm so proud of my state and of the grace that people have shown who were hit by the storms, and then the graciousness of those who came to help. It's just incredible.
The team knew what needed to be done and didn't hear one complaint about serving these communities. We live here and we love this community and we want to serve well.